Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, and here is another Doom Patrol recap. This is the 6th episode that aired on DC Universe streaming platform, and I have to say this one was pretty good. It was really dark. Not that this show has ever shied away from darkness, but it was really a very interesting episode in the way that it showed a lot of the past of the Doom Patrol that we weren't aware of until now. We start the episode out in 1956. It's a flashback to Rita where she's trying to get her career back. This is sometime after her accident, and she just wants to kind of be back in the spotlight. And she goes to a movie producer, and he pretty much pulls a Harvey Weinstein with her. Although this does not go as planned, as she kind of ends up killing him when her powers kind of go out of control. Now, the receptionist lady, I really liked this scene, and I felt like it was kind of a commentary on, situations that are going on now in Hollywood with the Me Too movement. But the lady comes in there, she sees the obviously dead movie producer, and she just looks at Rita, and she said, well, he had a heart attack. And they just kind of gloss right over that. So, I don't know, I kind of liked that. Like I said, it was a very it was a lot of commentary on how things currently are going in Hollywood, I thought. After that little flashback, we see Robot Man, and he is trying to do a search for his daughter on the internet. He ends up finding the equivalent of a Facebook. I think they call it something else. But he finds her Facebook, and he wants to get access to that. He ends up going to Jane, trying to get some help on how to view her Facebook, and Jane is downstairs watching old videos of, it's in this situation, it's Baby Doll talking to the chief, and she pretty much blows Robot Man off, tells she's still mad at him after the events of the last episode. After Jane turns him down, he goes to Cyborg for help on that, thinking that he can automatically hack into her Facebook. But Cyborg kind of turns him down on that one as well. Jane shows up while they're talking about this, and this was just kind of a funny scene. She presses the red button, I guess, that on Cyborg's uniform, and she says, "Hey Siri, find information on the Doom Patrol." And I just thought this was hilarious because he's like, that's not how this works. But I don't know, I just thought it was funny, especially considering how cheesy I think Cyborg's outfit looks. They end up finding out that there was an original Doom Patrol before them, which I guess they don't call themselves the Doom Patrol, or this version of them don't. But the original team was the Doom Patrol, and this was like in the 50s. And Rita shows up, and she has a connection to one of them. She actually dated a guy who was in it, and she doesn't really answer any questions about it because, of course, it's Rita, and she was all wrapped up in herself and not interested in this particular man. Jane gets tired of Rita not really answering her questions, so she walks over, she grabs Rita, and she grabs Larry, and she transports them to where they think this old Doom Patrol is. And at first I thought she had transported them back in time, thinking that was just a new facet of her powers. But it's not. It's current day. Everyone still looks the same, but it's kind of one of those things where we're really not supposed to, I guess, ask questions about it. Just the same as Rita and Jane, and everyone still looked the same as they did. Knowing good and well they've been at this, at the Doom Patrol mansion for, decades. This new place appears to be a school, kind of reminding you a lot of, the X-Men, how this, Xavier's school. And that's definitely the vibes I got from this. And Jane kind of walks in on a training session with two of the superheroes from the original Doom Patrol teaching class. Now, as all this is going on, we go back to the Doom Patrol mansion, and you've got Cyborg's dad showing up to kind of fix him after the things that happened in the previous episode. And again, I could not help but laugh at how bad the Cyborg costume is. Like, it really looks like he just grabbed a Halloween costume that was supposed to look like Cyborg. I just don't think this translates very well to a small screen. Yeah, I liked the one in the Justice League movie. I thought that one pretty much came off pretty good. But this just looks so cheesy. The more they show it without him wearing like a hoodie or something, it just makes it look so cheap. And I think this show does really well in the costuming department and the special effects. I don't know why this looks so bad. Jane and Larry end up meeting the person who's sort of in charge of the school, and it's a man named Josh Clay, and he's pretty much like the overseer, and he's been sent there by the chief. And of course they have questions, and something is obviously not right with this picture. Rita has another flashback where she is being interviewed by the chief at some point in the past, and he introduced her to Steve, which is Minto is his code name, which I thought was a little dumb, but he possesses mental abilities. He wears like a helmet to kind of hone these abilities, and he ends up working with Rita to kind of control her shape. And the two end up, having a bit of a fling with each other. And I thought this one scene was funny because before they're going to have sex for the first time, she asked him to keep the hat on, the helmet, and he just says something. He just kind of gives her this look, and she's like, no, this isn't anything kinky. It's just that, she's afraid of letting go, and she's afraid of turning into the blob thing that she is. But he has full confidence in her at this point because she's learned to control her powers. Now, I don't understand what's happened between this situation and then current day, when obviously she still doesn't have very good control over it. So I don't really know what's happened there, and they don't really explain it either. In the present day, Steve shows up where Rita's at, and of course he looks the exact same, and neither one of them really are that freaked out about the fact that they still look the same. There's something said about, oh, you look fantastic, but other than that, I guess it's just one of these things we're just supposed to overlook. Back at the Doom Mansion, we see where Cyborg's dad has arrived, and he is going to have to work on Cyborg, and it's going to be like 3 hours that he has to be basically turned off. And Cyborg has already talked to Robot Man, and he wants him to sort of watch guard over him, so he's decided to do that. Rita ends up asking Steve about Mr. Nobody and if he has any information about him, and he tells her this story about how at one point they took on Mr. Nobody. Basically, he arrived in town, and there was I think he was kind of in disguise as a jukebox that was playing this song that made everybody go nuts. And then the Doom Patrol shows up, the original Doom Patrol. And I gotta say, I thought costume-wise, they looked really great. They're wearing like the classic red and white that you've seen in the comics, and I think it could have looked cheesy, but I thought it looked really good. And I thought they did a really good job, which again just makes me wonder, why does Cyborg look so dang bad when they can do so much else with the other characters? But the original Doom Patrol shows up, and as Steve is telling one version of the story, Larry is talking to one of the other members, and she's giving him a different version, which is basically that they pretty much almost didn't make it, but the chief ended up saving them. And Larry's a little confused about that because he's thinking, how did a non-superhero or superpowered person end up saving, 3 superheroes? And she says, well, why don't you ask him yourself? And then in rolls the chief, and Larry's just shocked because, as far as he knows, the chief is still missing. Now, this is when we start to realize that everything is just a little too good to be true, and everything shifts suddenly, and we realize that all of this, everything they've seen in this place is kind of, it's kind of someone's powers that is masquerading everything to make it look like, like a school, when in actuality this place is broken down. We start to see all the cracks in this place. We see that, in fact, Steve has aged. He's actually in a wheelchair. To him, I think he's using his powers to make everyone look young, and like no time has changed. Well, Larry ends up letting loose, and the negative man inside him ends up saving the day. He takes the hat, or the helmet that Minto wears, and ends up giving it to Rita. After that, we find out that the reason Josh is there is he's kind of their caretaker. He's been there for several years, and basically he just kind of lets them live their lives in the best way that they know how, which is, Steve using his powers to make it look like they're back in their heyday of superheroes. And it's kind of sad that this is going on, but at the same time, it's a nice way for them, because they're not aware that they're old. They're not aware that they have problems, that their powers are out of control. They're living their perfect life. We see another flashback where Rita is going over in her mind about how eventually Steve broke things off with her. He saw into her mind. He saw things that she'd done, and he judged her for that, and he left her. Jane, Larry, and Rita end up leaving the old Doom Patrol and just kind of letting things continue as they were, letting them have their fantasy. No one's being harmed, and this way they just get to live out the rest of their days like this. And Rita has kind of decided in this moment that she's going to try to find herself. She's going to try not to be Rita Farr. She wants to be someone new, and I liked the character progression of this. We also have a scene where Cyborg is kind of thanking Robot Man for being there for him while his dad was there, and then at the end of it, he shows Robot Man how to get into his daughter's Facebook, and Robot Man at the very end of it is seeing all these images where basically this other guy is her father. And I guess she doesn't even remember her father. She just remembers this other guy who she's tagged as her father on Facebook. And that's pretty much how it ends. I actually liked this episode quite a bit. I thought it was very dark, but I liked the old Doom Patrol, and I liked that we got to see that. And I thought this was overall really well done for the most part, and I enjoyed it. So anyways, I'm going to leave this one here, and leave a comment down below if you liked it. Let me know what you thought, and be sure and stick around for the next video. I'll be back tomorrow, so you guys have a great day.